Hi, everyone. This is Nate Lindquist. I'm here with Margaret Wright. We're excited to be kicking off another week of Flip Chick Mastery Coaching, and this week it's the Flip It Now program. So, Margaret, you got to say hi.
Hi.
We're
That's
here.
all I get to say is hi?
You can say hi. Yeah.
Oh, then I'm done?
You're done. Wrap it up. Wrap it up. It's awesome to be here. A couple of you still logging in, but I'm excited we look forward to this every week. You know, we were spoiled last week with doing all the bonus stuff in between and having the live call, but we're going to have more of those coming, so we'll see who the next surprise guest is. In the meantime, we're really excited to have you here. So welcome to the Flip It Now edition of Flip Chick Mastery Coaching, and it's time for your first successful flip, not later, not when you get around to it, not when you have enough money, not when your list is long enough, it's time, it's now. So let's get cracking on that. And I don't know, do you want to add anything, Margaret? Because that's what this call is all about. So welcome to the call, everyone. It's good to have you here. It's good to be back. What was that? And you know what? You know what just dawned on me? I bet you can't see my screen. That's why that does that. Can you see my screen now? I bet there's no one shouting yet. Let's see. Is there anyone? All right, cool. Sometimes it's an interesting, the webinar program is interesting because sometimes it does not automatically show the screen. Sometimes it does. Can everyone hear us okay? Or I should say hear me, because I'm the one that's going on and on. Can you hear my voice? Can you hear Margaret laughing at me?
Sure.
Is the audio good?
Yay.
All right, awesome. Look at that. We're here. We're live and alive. All right, welcome to the call. So I hope everyone's doing good. I'm sure you've all got offers out there and you've got some properties under contract. So this is probably just going to be redundant. So the Flip It process in action, what we're hearing and seeing and sensing for some of you is that most of you are struggling with getting a property under contract, which is the number one goal. If I haven't said that before, getting a property under contract is your number one goal. And just to see who's paying attention, I'm just wondering if any one of you wants to see, I just want to see who can answer first. What is your number one goal? Type it in, your number one goal. What is your number one goal? Ready? Wow, 100% attentive. That is awesome. That's because I'm watching.
Big brother Nate.
So, get a property under contract or a house. You could call it a house. Some of them barely pass this one, but the key is get one under contract. So,
4 walls, we call it a house.
Yep, 4 walls, sometimes a 4.
We make it a home, but we buy a house.
Yep, boy, I tell you, they get worse before they get better. All right, well, that's exactly right. I know that a handful of you retained that that's the number one goal, if I haven't said it before. And it's okay to shake the trees, kick up dust, and get nothing. But the truth is when you do that enough, because you don't do it once, you don't do it for an hour, you don't do it on a Saturday, you do it until you get, I'm going to say this again, a property under contract. And it's not okay to quit. It's a volume game. So make offers on 6 out of 10 at half price. Whatever you can do and see what sticks. That's the name of the game. It's how you get into the game. Do you want to throw anything in there?
Yeah, I think there's this misconception that, we've got to have it all figured out and then we go make the offer on the house. We make the offer on the house and then we figure it out. So I know I've had a lot of coaching calls with some of you guys, and there's a lot of conversation about what do I need? You just need to get a house under contract. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to flip that house, but the activity right now is making offers and negotiating, because depending on what happens with the house, you need to get into that game before you can really make any progress with it. So right now we're going to make sure that everybody this week is making offers on houses and sharing on the RIA who's getting houses under contract.
And by a show of hands, just real quick, how many of you have reasons, we call them excuses, that you haven't gotten a house under contract yet? Not enough time, still trying to figure it out, haven't gotten the money yet. I'm going to tell you, if that's your biggest concern, it's the least of your concerns that you should be having. Awesome job. One of our most active members of the program, Bonnie, first one to put her hand up. Excuses, reasons are excuses, excuses are reasons. Bottom line, you're making a profit center by finding and putting a house under contract. Where the money comes from at that point is based on someone who loves to find a profit center. So don't accidentally get it backwards and think you have to have the money to go make an offer and get a house under contract. I mean, go in with a low number, let them come back. All right. What we want to do, so First I'm going to call you all out, other than Bonnie, that she's the only one who raised her hand. So all of you must.
Everybody else must have a house.
You must have a house under contract. So that's awesome news. If you have already gotten a house under contract, why don't you go ahead and raise your hand just to see who's paying attention?
Woo!
All right. Was that for real? Is that for real?
That's progress.
What? So raise your hand again. I want to see if that maybe I blinked funny. Let's see what we got here. What do we got? Oh, that's the not paying attention alarm. Yeah. Yeah, we got you guys figured out. So go ahead and put your hand up again real quick if you have a house under contract. Ready? Put your hand up. Ready? Ready, 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 ready. It must have been an accident. Either that or Emily isn't paying attention.
No, I think Emily's going to be the next one to get a house under contract.
Oh, all right. So if you don't have one
so Emily
under contract,
said, sorry, it was a mistake.
Yeah, that's okay, though. You can win in advance by writing your script, and this is how you do it. So what I want you to do is start to think about your Flip Chick Weekend Warrior agenda from last weekend. And if this wasn't yours, maybe ask why. Awesome. Emily said 2 offers, no contract yet. You know what? Keep going. Awesome. Awesome. Way to set the example. Anyone else make any offers and no contract yet? I mean, making the offers and getting in there. I know that some of you have I'm not going to name names. Oh, good job. Hands are up. That's great. I never know if to look at questions or hands, so I'll be more specific. Some of you have had a property ready to go. You're ready to buy it. You want to make your offer, whatever that is, and someone sweeps it out from under your nose, so you miss the opportunity. And there's that. That's because you're hesitating.
And it can be one of the most frustrating things. I know in the beginning when I started making offers, I had it in my head that, okay, when I make an offer, then it's my house. I'm going to get it. And that's not how it works. When you make an offer, that's the first step to getting into the game. It means that you and maybe 10 other people have made the offer on the house. And, we don't know what's going to happen until after we make the offer. So a lot of us, we get too tied into it and too emotionally attached to a particular house, and we haven't even made the offer yet. Keep the emotion out of it until you at least get a counter offer and then a contract signed. Then we really start, digging into, okay, this is my house. Now I need to put some effort into it, do my due diligence with it. But
don't fall in love. Don't fall in love with the first house. Fall in love with your weekend Flip Chick Weekend Warrior agenda. So as I share this with you, if you look back at last weekend and this was your agenda, your Weekend Warrior agenda, I want you to kind of get the mental movie of what it would feel like looking back in your imagination that this actually was your last weekend, and maybe it was. So you review your list of potential houses. So
that could be from the realtor, it could be from a wholesaler, it could be any number of things.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're all coming through clear. And make sure that sometimes we get a shortage, internet, how internet is. So everyone's I think we're still coming through okay. Can everyone just show of hands, can everyone hear me okay? Okay, cool. All right, so winning in advance is about using your mental movie, use your imagination, the ability, if I said see a flying pig and make it spin and put it on a bouncy ball and give it a little bonnet and make him stick his tongue out, you guys could all do it. So the same thing here you could do. You can picture this. So you've got a list of potential houses from your investor-friendly realtor or your wholesaler. Maybe you've done some research on your own, whatever that may be. You've got a list, okay? So that's step 1, and that's what you did last weekend, all right? And then 2, you set a goal of how many offers you will make. And here's a handful of scenarios that I want you to picture in this movie theater of your mind. So you have your list of 20 houses, and you were prepared with I would take this house at this price number. So based on what you're looking at, you can, even if you didn't, by the way, walk into the building, I've got an idea of what I would make an offer for.
So if I can elaborate on that just for a second. So I would take this house at this price number is the absolute lowball number that that if you could get it under contract for that price, regardless of what's wrong with the inside of it. So you've never even driven past it. You have no idea. You assume it needs a new roof. You assume it needs new electric. You assume it needs new plumbing. You assume it needs all new HVAC, as if it's a gut rehab. So if you want to just come up with a general number for that, say $40,000, like that would pretty much cover most total rehabs in a house that we're looking at. So if you assume, like, let's say $40,000 to $50,000, then you take that off for the budget price, and then what's the price that you would offer the house? And maybe if you want to be really conservative, take $50,000. And so if you've got a house for, let's I know one of the houses that Bonnie shared was, I think it was list price at $65,000. So I don't remember the exact numbers that she shared, but let's say that if it's an ARV of $150,000, then you know how much wiggle room you have if you assume worst case scenario for the budget for flipping a house. So assuming worst case scenario, what's the price that, hey, if I could get that house for $25,000, I'm going to do it no matter what. I will find the money. I will not sleep until I do. Go write up an offer for that. It might sound crazy and you think, oh, well, there's no way they're going to take it. Who cares? You're in line now. That's the important thing, is you're in line when you make the offer. And sometimes they come back and they don't even respond, or they say, nope, rejected. But now you've made the offer. You've taken that first step. And really there's a psychological phenomena that happens when you've actually written up your first contract. And that's what I want to make sure all of you get to that point this week.
It's called awesome land. Like when you make that offer, it's the biggest rush ever. So
you realize it's not a big deal. I mean, I have, at this point, most of the houses that I buy, I make an offer on it before I go see it. Because I'm not going to waste a lot of time, driving around looking at houses. I'm going to go out, I'm going to make offers. I'm going to see which ones I can even play with and see who I get a counter offer from. And then I go look at it. Then I pull in the contractor.
Incidentally, your Flip Check Weekend Warrior agenda is supposed to make you feel like a badass.
Because you are a badass.
Yeah, because the idea is you see your badass self in your mind. That's where you create that self before you will see it in the world. So in this movie theater of your mind, that's just what Margaret's talking about. When I see her telling you this, I definitely think of her as a badass. And you should be thinking the same thing, that you in fact are. And that's this process. It's getting in the game. You become a player when you start to play, period. So we're going to move on to the next point. You want to make offers on 10 of them. So whether you went into the house or not. So that doesn't mean you find reasons to not make offers because there's more you'd like to see. Doesn't mean that, you don't make offers because you can't get inside. You get as much information as you can, and you make offers on 10 of those houses. And that's what you did last weekend. So how did that feel, to know that you made offers on 10, on half of the houses you had on your list? You must be a tycoon.
A real estate mogul.
Yeah, an absolute mogul. So right now is the time to build momentum. Don't worry about getting it perfect the first time out. When you're having your Flip Chick Weekend Warrior agenda, which is what Flip Chicks like you do, you just go out and you get in the game. You build momentum and keep it moving. Think about it as a volume game. You want to go and just rack up as many different opportunities, get them in front of you, make offers that are reasonable and low, and see where it sticks.
And this is a chance for you to test your realtor as well. How serious are they at their commitment to getting you a house under contract? So when you tell your realtor, this is my goal, I want to have 20 houses we're looking at, I want to make offers on 10 of them, and I want to get at least one under contract. If they say, oh, well, that's, you're wasting my time, they're not your realtor. Explain to them, this is what I need to do right now because I need to get a house under contract. This is the business I'm in. Are you my guy or girl, or are you not?
Awesome. All right. So now we're just going to keep going down this road. You're experiencing this in your mind. You want you to picture this, again, more mental movie. So you've made the offers and you're playing the game. And the ball is now in their court. So once you make offers, now you're waiting to see if you get counter offers.
So here's the scenarios, and I've played every one of these. So I make the offers. I make 10 offers, and I get 10 rejected offers. Well, that's fine. Now I know what they're not going to take. So I can look a little bit closer at the house and say, hey, can I add another 10,000 to the offer? Can I add another 5,000 to the offer? But again, you're in line now. So at least you're in the game. And then if you don't get any this weekend, that's fine. You know that you did the effort of getting the offers out there, and you can play again next weekend. Here's another scenario that can equally freak somebody out. You make 10 offers and you get 10 accepted offers. If you make 10 offers and you get 10 accepted offers, assuming that you've done what I said and make the assumption that worst case scenario, then that's awesome. You're going to find plenty of other flip chicks out there or other partners or investors that are happy because they don't have a house under contract yet. How many people on the call wish that somebody would say, hey, I've got this house under contract. Do you want to partner with me? I would. If somebody comes to me, I'm always interested in looking at, hey, I've got a house under contract. Are you interested in partnering? And I've shared this with some of you on the coaching calls. I'm not interested in, hey, here's the theory. I'm thinking about getting this house under contract, because how can I know if you're serious or not if you don't actually have the house under contract? And more likely, you're going to get between 1 and 9 counter offers, and now it's your turn. It's your move. You either have the numbers already figured out and you know how high you're going to go, which is what I suggest at this point. You're going to make the offers, but don't get caught up in thinking you've got to have the budget figured out before you make the offer. Make the offer, and then the next step is figuring out what the real numbers look like. So again, you either get counter offers and then you're in the game, and you're gonna come back and you're gonna, somewhere between your offer and their offer, you're gonna make another offer, and then it's in their court again. And other one is you get between 1 and 9 accepted offers. I've had several accepted offers in one weekend, bingo. And I'm thrilled. It's bingo.
Jackpot.
It's exactly what we want. And again, if you get more than one offer, that's a great thing, because you can find somebody to partner with you. We need to get to the point where your concern is, oh my gosh, I've got a house under contract and I don't know who to partner with, or I don't know where the money's coming from.
We call that a high value problem.
High value problem.
Quality
problem.
Noticing how many of you do not have anything under contract. Nearly all of you, give or take none. You're at that place right now where you recognize there's literally nothing standing between you and having a property under contract. There's literally nothing there other than you. So if you were to get out of the way and make offers and even get rejected on all 10 of them or more, you're learning exactly how not to make a light bulb. You know what I mean? It's like, how many times do you need to fail to find out all the ways not to do it? It's perfect.
You're familiar with the Thomas Edison?
Thomas Edison, over
reference?
1,000 ways to not make a light bulb. It's a huge success. And the other lesson is fail faster. And they're not really failures; they're just lessons. Right. So, all right, way to go. So hopefully you're experiencing this in your mind. This isn't judgment, by the way. This is part of the learning. This is part of the process. So if you feel as though by not going out and making offers that you failed, that's okay. You just learned. So go out and make some offers. Get some properties under contract. And then when you win the game, you have the win of getting one under contract, and then you're in the game with a contract. That's a celebration. So keep it together, maintain your composure. I like to say keep the cover on the kettle, because if you let all the steam out, you're forgetting there's some work to do, and it's time to close the deal. So I like to make this point now, and it might, you're going to hear me make it over and over again, but talk is cheap. And when you get excited and, you've got your one project and all of a sudden all your focus goes to that, it's easy to forget about other opportunities. So talk is cheap. Just remember, you've got to focus. So where is your deal? It's time to take action, because you always have options. And you can always change your mind. There's this sense of, oh my gosh, I'm stuck. I have no safety net. Well, there is a safety net. Don't let someone else get away with your next flip due to complacency, fear, or any imagined roadblocks that you might have. I know that hasn't happened to any of you. So if my hallucination is correct, that perhaps one of you may have at some time felt as though you might miss an opportunity due to complacency, fear, and other imagined roadblocks, then this might help you. But of course, none of you will have that problem.
And I want to also just point out the fact that I heard from many of you, I won't even say several, from many of you, that you had a house chosen. I'll say chosen, using the term loosely, because it's just looking and kicking tires when you're looking and don't have a contract or an offer made on it, and somebody else got it under contract. So you're in the game when you are doing that. So if there's other people winning the game in that house, you need to get in the game and start making the offers so that you can be the one winning. And it's always fun to me. So there's some local flip people who I know, even though we're friends, we sometimes end up bidding on the same house. And we really try to make sure that we're not bidding against each other. But it's happened a few times where usually I'm the one who wins the game because I know how to play the game. that somebody will say, "Oh, I made an offer on that house and I didn't get the house." I'll be like, "Haha, I did." I said, but don't let's not play that way. Let's make sure that we're playing the game to have everybody win. But here's the reality: there's people in your area at that house. Those of you who sent me the deals that you sent and said, "Oh, I wanted to get this one under contract, but somebody else did." They've got it because they're doing the things that you aren't doing right now. And I don't mean to be mean about it, but there's very little keeping you from getting your house under contract. There's very little between now and you being that person who's got the house under contract, who somebody else is sitting there saying, "Oh, I really wanted that house, and oh, I should have bid a couple $1,000s more." It's a totally different game when you're starting to question why you didn't get a deal instead of, should I get that deal or should I not get that deal?
Okay, so we're all in this thing together. We're all on the same page. Don't fall in love with the house that you want to put an offer on. Fall in love with being in the game and taking action. Okay. And then remember, there's what I call the safety net options. When you say, I don't think that feels right to me, there's a lot of things you can do to not make the deal. So again, playing the game is knowing when to skip a turn or to, pass go and don't collect $500 or go, listen, it's a game. You pay attention to the opportunities, you recognize who the players are, and you make sure that you're one of them. And so, Margaret, go ahead and go down the list.
So, and I just want to play through this scenario. So you've got the house that you've selected that you're going to make an offer on. You call your realtor, you say, "Hey, let's write up a contract for this." You sign a bunch of stuff. Highly recommend that you insist that your contractor use DocuSign or some electronic document signing, because if they don't, then you're going to be printing off and signing and scanning, and that's a pain. You don't want to be doing that with your time. So make sure that they're DocuSign sending you contracts, and then you check. Oh, I just made an offer. I mean, it's literally, we'll be driving in the car at the movie theater, and I'll get a contract over because I've told my realtor, "Send me a contract. I want to make an offer on this house." And it takes me 30 seconds because again, I've got the attorney review period. I know that I can have somebody look at it and say, "Oh, we can't sign this contract because of this. We have an out there." I have the inspection period. Hey, we had somebody come in and look at the septic and it's no good, or somebody look at the electric and it's no good. We need to get out of it. I added financing contingency, even though that's probably not going to be the case for us. We will usually come in with a cash offer. There are some of you, and it makes sense sometimes to buy a house as owner occupied and then you keep it as a rental. You can swoop in and take some deals and kick the investors out of the game if that's a possibility for you. So I know some of you that is. If you don't have a second home already, then you might be able to take your first flip. I'll call it a flip, and I'm using my air quotes right now, and hold on to it. As long as you hold on to it for a year, then you can, you're within the rules of it's okay to be owner occupied. So, again, there may be financing contingency, probably not, but that's okay because you have the inspection period and the attorney review period. So again, this is where the worst case scenario, let's call it, is that you get a house under contract and you've put earnest money down. Make sure that you put the least amount of earnest money that they will accept. And it's completely normal to put $500 or $1,000 down for earnest money. Again, when they're counter offering, they might say, "Oh, we need 10% down," or "We might need something different," but you don't even know. Don't give up too much right off the bat. So you write up the contract, give them $500 in earnest money. Worst case, that's what you're out. So, it's a good lesson for $500. I've never, in all the years that I've been doing this, I've never lost earnest money. I've always been able to get out of a contract if I wanted to get out of it, or I just go through and I end up buying the house. So again, this idea that, what if, as long as you get the house under contract and you're in the game, that's where we want to see you right now. That's where, if you're serious about this and you're ready to do this, that's where we want to see you. So again, who's doing the work, who's where we want to be if we're going to be a real flip chick. So quick show of hands. Let's do a little interactive here. Again, hold on. Nate has to click on for me so I can see everybody's hands. So show of hands. I know everybody's got their lists now. I know that some of you, and I think most of you, how many people looked at houses or reviewed the list and started really seriously thinking, okay, I could do this house. I could do this house. They came up with their list of, yes, I'm serious about this now. Okay. Awesome. Now, how many people made offers? How many people found their houses and they actually made the offers? Okay. I want to open it up and have a little conversation with you guys. So if you found the house, why didn't you make an offer? Because we want to solve this challenge that you're having so that by next weekend or next Monday when we talk again, that everybody, when we say, did you make an offer? Everybody puts their hand up. So, if you want to type in the questions, or if you want to raise your hand, we'll just open it up so we can have some conversation. And let's talk through the challenges that you're having, why you didn't do it. It might be that you were just scared. It might be that you didn't have the letter. Okay, Carolyn's raised her hand, so let's unmute you.
Hi, Carolyn. How are you?
Hey, Carolyn.
You're live.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi.
So
okay.
I pulled a list of houses on Friday, and my friend and I went to look at them on Saturday. We selected one, went on the HUD website, and it wasn't there. So by the time I got hold of the realtor, which she didn't get back with me until this morning when I called her again,
Okay.
She had a contract Friday and hadn't changed the MLS.
Yeah, and are you, when you say you pulled the list on Friday, are you getting the updates every day on what's getting added?
Oh, sure. I mean, because I checked it before we went out Saturday morning, and I checked it Saturday night. She just never changed it in MLS. It was still showing as active.
Okay, so let me ask this. When you pulled the list, did you have that particular house already in mind as the one that you thought was going to be the one you wanted to make an offer on, or not until you showed up at the house?
Not until we showed up.
So how many, you said you looked at 12 houses?
Oh, it was a bunch. Yeah, probably 12.
So what I recommend, because obviously if you pulled the list and somebody already had a contract on it, how long had it been on the market?
It has been on the market for about 60 days, has been pending twice, and has come back on the market twice. So this was its, second or third time, second time back on the market. So it had not been very long back on the market, because we had looked at it once before when it was under contract and didn't realize it.
Okay, so when you talked to the realtor, did they say it's already under contract, or did they say there's multiple offers, or they just said straight it's not available anymore?
She said it went under contract Friday.
Okay. And here's a great opportunity for you to learn a little bit more, for everybody. Ask questions when you talk to the listing agent. Say, was it owner occupied? They may or may not give you information, but you can start to understand, because if it was an owner occupied, maybe it wasn't possible for you to get it. That happens sometimes.
No, it was a vacant HUD home.
So even if it's a vacant HUD home, if somebody comes in as owner occupied, they're more likely to accept that.
It was the buyer owner occupied.
As the buyer, yeah.
Yeah.
So again, I know when I say if it's a possibility for somebody to, and I think I have 3 quote unquote second homes that I've ended up turning into rental properties, and they legitimately were houses that were going to be, that could be a second home when I purchased them. Because I want to take advantage of having the owner occupied. What I've done every time I've moved, I've kept the house as a rental for a little bit too. So just keeping an open mind about that. Maybe that's not going to be the case for you, but it's best case scenario for getting an offer is owner occupied cash. Like that's going to bump out all the investors, and it's going to bump out the owner occupied who need financing, which a lot of the HUD homes, that's not even a possibility because no bank is going to finance it for you. So,
right.
But again, if let's say that it was an investor that came in, what I would do when I'm looking at houses, I will come up with this is the no-brainer price. And I will give the real estate agent, the listing agent, a call, hey, there's an offer coming in. And I say, I will, meaning my realtor will do that. I've got an offer coming in, and you might get information before you even go look at it when you say that. So that can help. If maybe on Friday, obviously on Friday, you didn't go look at it till Saturday. So it's kind of a balance when you're looking at, hey, do I call every listing agent for 20 houses? I mean, you have to call, you have to call to schedule the appointment. Sometimes the realtor can just go and schedule it online without talking to somebody. But that's an opportunity for you to find out a little bit more about the property too. So, what you give the, go ahead.
Talking to 10 listing agents takes less time than driving to 10 houses.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There's a way to approach your communication as well when you start to connect with any of the agents you're working with, anyone who's putting you on their list or anything else. You could become. I can't tell you how many times in making a deal where I've been on the call and I said, "Where are you now?" When you see there's an opportunity, you think it's something you want to look at. When they hear you say, "Where are you right now?" they'll recognize you're not just calling them to discuss the property. You're not just getting information about it. You're serious about going to take advantage of an opportunity and make an offer. And when you get familiar with the sweet spot that you're looking for, you need to be prepared to have your ducks in a row, get to that property as quick as you can, and make it very clear that you're a player. And that's going to be right out of the gate the way you communicate first thing.
Mm-hmm. And ideally, you're got your finger on the pulse of your list closely enough that when the house gets listed, that you're there within 24 hours, or you at least have communication with the person. Say, hey, I've got an offer coming in. You let even if you have no intention of having an offer coming in, then say, oh yeah, or if the realtor is calling, my client went there and it wasn't quite what we wanted, or yeah, here's the offer. Here's the offer. It's half price. You know what I mean? So it's
Yep.
getting in there. You could have made an offer on all 12 houses, even if you didn't get into all of them.
Well, and that's what I'm realizing listening to you. I didn't look for a B or a C. I was just going with plan A.
Right.
Because surely there's a B or a C in that list. I mean, there's 11 other houses.
C, D, E, F, G. If you have to get down to Z, I have bought many Z houses.
It's nothing. There's nothing more exciting than having that list of 20 or more homes. The number of times I've gone out and looked at 20 or 30 in a weekend. You're going to see stuff that just falls right off your list. But it's to talk about getting the beat on the market. There's no better way than that. You're going to be who knows what's going on.
Right. And the other real estate agents are going to get to know your name, your company name, or your name.
Right.
All of a sudden it's like, oh, it's Carolyn making another offer. And I'll go, oh, you're serious. And then here's what's going to happen next. They're going to call you when they've got a new listing. Or they're going to call your realtor when they've got a new listing. Hey, I know you're working with investors. What do you think of, do you think that they'd be interested in this one? Then you get to be the girl who's going in and has it under contract on Friday before all the other people even go look at it on Saturday. That's what happens with me a lot. Is I know, and it's an unfair advantage, and I'll take it every time. I know that I get lists, and I get an opportunity to buy something before anybody else does, and it's because I've done what exactly we're teaching you guys to do. Get in the game, and start making the offers so that you're at the top of the mind when a new house comes in.
It works in every marketplace too. I'll give you a quick analogy. I go out to book sales and estate sales. And I've been to dozens and dozens of them. I go with a friend of mine whenever I can. And it's just a fun little hobby. But you start to recognize the people who are there. And it's gotten to the point where we'll go to a show and people will come up and say, hey, I got a bunch of stuff I didn't want to bring to this show, to this estate sale that I wanted you to look at. Can you come over and look at my private collection? And then we get opportunities for huge, antiquarian books. There's huge opportunities. You can buy a book for $50 and sell it for $4,000. Which I've done, more than once. And it's about getting into the game, being seen, being around it. Another example would be, as I grew up, I went with my father to auctions, and I've been to auctions on my own and made bids. It gets to the point where, there were so many deals to be had, and you're a player in the game, that I actually would get out of the car, walk up to the auction, and someone would be walking over with either $5,000 or $10,000 to make sure that I didn't bid. It's just like, here's your walking away money.
Yeah.
And what that gives you access to specialized information. You'll get calls on your way to go look at a property with someone else who's saying, listen, I'm willing to go up to this amount and I'll go in on it with you. I mean, it's amazing the deals that start to happen when people know you're a player like that.
Yep. And here's the reality. There aren't hundreds of players. There probably aren't dozens of players. There's going to be a handful of people who are investing, and the realtors want to know who those people are. They're going to want to know you because you're an investor. You know, it's really incredible. It's happened more times than I can think of where I go into the title company. I don't think anybody knows who I am. And they're like, oh yeah, hi, welcome back. And I assume that there's dozens or, hundreds of people coming in that are just like me. We are unique. We are a unique breed, us flip chicks here. And people will get to know who you are. You're going to become, a figure in your community as somebody who's investing. The realtors are going to know who you are. The bankers are going to know who you are. The title company is going to know who you are. There's just not that many. Okay, so does that help, Carolyn?
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions while you're unmuted? Well, you've got the floor.
Thank you. Just a moment.
So next weekend, how many offers are you going to make?
I'm going to try and make some offers before the weekend.
Oh,
I'm tired of losing things on Friday. Hello.
Awesome. Okay,
do or do not. There is no try.
Yeah. Yoda.
Yeah, there you go.
So share with us on the RIA. Share with us when you make an offer. Share with us when you come up with anything. I love throughout the week hearing the progress and giving feedback to everybody. And I know some people are a little shy. I know you're not. Some people are a little shy to post things, but it's really helpful. I mean, I know that when I've seen all the likes that people have or even personal messages people are sending, I know it's extremely helpful when you guys share your progress with the group that way. So thanks, Carolyn.
Thanks, Carolyn. I'm going to go ahead and move you back.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Awesome. We're going to move you back to silent mode here. Let's see. All right.
Okay, so the next question that I see here is, I didn't make the offers because I didn't have the proof of funds. So, again, there's the, yes, you should be showing proof of funds where the actual proof of funds is what you're using. What you really need, again, to get in the game is just a letter of proof of funds. So I'm going to read off a list for you of some hard money lenders that will very easily give you a group of a proof of funds letter. So lendinghome.com, b2rfinance.com, assetavenue.com, some other ones, connectedinvestor.com. And I'm going to tell you that it doesn't matter which one you call. There are a lot of companies like these, or you can just Google, I need a hard money POF letter, proof of funds letter, and you're going to get a whole list of people that will give you a proof of funds letter. You very likely will not use them because when you type in something like that, the people who come up are people who are charging 30% interest, and we don't want to use them for the money, but I'm more than happy to use them for a proof of funds letter because they will give anybody money. It's just a matter of what interest rate they're going to expect you to pay for it. So if you don't have a proof of funds letter already, a legitimate proof of funds letter, then before you go to bed tonight, Google, I need a proof of funds letter, hard money proof of funds letter. Some places, and it's crazy, and it really makes it, ridiculous that they even need the proof of funds letter, but you could fill it out and it can get emailed to you. And again, it's kind of a nonsense thing. Your proof of funds letter that you send in with the contract really doesn't, it's just a letter saying, just like a pre-approval letter saying, yeah, I can get money. Well, anybody can get money if they're paying 30% or 40% or 50%. So get one of those letters. If you don't have a regular proof of funds letter, then get one of those letters and put that in with your offer. That's all you need. That's all you need to be able to make the offer is I'll call it a bogus proof of funds letter, even though it is a legitimate proof of funds letter. They're hard money lenders and they're saying that they're going to give you money.
All right, we have another question here. I may have missed this at the beginning of the call. I joined 15 minutes late. My roadblock right now is knowing what amount to offer. Are we making offers without looking at the properties, or do we need to look at all of them before making the offer?
So definitely don't look at all of them. You don't have to look at all of them. And we did cover a lot of this at the beginning of the call, but yeah, you can make the offers without looking at the properties, or at least let them know that the offer is coming in. And if you don't know, this is my first rule of thumb, which used to work better a few years ago, but cut the asking price in half and start there. So Carolyn, we were talking about 12 houses that you were looking at. Whatever the asking price is, cut it in half and make an offer for that. Are you going to get a response? Probably not. Are you going to get maybe a counter offer? Very likely. It's really getting in the game again. Make the lowball offer that you feel comfortable with or feel slightly uncomfortable with, or you know what? Go for it. Make an offer that you feel really uncomfortable with. Again, you can get out of it. We talked about the oops, I don't really want this house list of the attorney review period, the inspection period. And again, worst case, you're out your $500 or $1,000. I don't want anybody to be out $500 or $1,000. I think every penny matters when we're smart investors. But, again, the amount that you want to offer is, just make it something that you're comfortable with. If it's half price, just go in and do half price. All right, we have some more questions.
Hard money.
Yeah, they give. So the question is, I'm assuming you're talking about hard money letter of proof of funds. Yeah, they give you the proof of funds letter for free. They're hoping that you're going to use them, and you don't. There's so many of them out there. So yeah, everybody. I'm not gonna. Big Brother's watching, so I won't say go Google it right now, but you'll be able to find something tonight, and by tomorrow morning you'll have a proof of funds letter from somebody.
She says that like I don't care about you all, and I do. I think focus is a really powerful tool, so that's why I suggest that. But
we appreciate it.
You can Google later. Don't Google now. Google will always be there. Google is taking over the world. So.
And yes, Bonnie, that is nuts. I agree. It's crazy, and I don't even know what to say about it because
it's awesome.
It's awesome. I was talking to another investor, and I was talking about, I need to pull together proof of funds because I always had legitimate proof of funds. It never occurred to me that I would send a letter that was from a lender that I had not intended to use. And I was like, how on earth are you going to get proof of funds for that amount of money? And literally hours later, he had a proof of funds letter. And I was like, you wrote that up yourself. I don't even believe that that's a real letter. And then he gave me the number of the person. I called them, and I had my own proof of funds letter. Mm-hmm. And it's it's not something that you'll continue to do, but when you're getting started, it's totally fine to do.
And there will be in time as you become more of a player, which I know all of you will be momentarily, where people will just recognize that you are a player, and some of them won't even ask. Right. So. More often than not.
A lot of times when you're doing the HUD homes or the foreclosed properties, it's an electronic offer that goes in. So that's a requirement that they send the letter with it. It's they're clicking through the this contract here, sign these addendums here, send the proof of funds letter. Are they actually reading the proof of funds letter? Probably not. You just have to have it attached when you make the offer. They don't really care what it says.
All right, so we're going to scream through the post-acceptance because we know you're going to get an offer accepted and the pre-closing checklist and due diligence and all that. Because, really, you want to be able to ask questions when you have them. So we're going to give you just an overview. And we also know we want to be respectful of your time during this training because we've already given you so much. So
this is, we're going to give you hey, this is what's next. You guys are all going to get to this part soon. And again, get the proof of funds letter if you haven't already got it. Go out and start making some offers. And all of this is going to become very relevant very soon. So the offer is accepted. Hopefully for all of you, this is going to happen very, very, very soon.
Okay, one more question here before we jump in. Should we analyze the listings to select the properties to offer on? Have we covered how to analyze the listings and how to compare the listings to the comps?
The short answer is working with your realtor who's going to be an expert in that area. And I know we have a max allowable offer video. Can we edit that and send that out?
Yep.
So we have a video,
Well,
but
that's the sweet spot.
Yeah, it's the sweet spot video.
It's a really long video. So what we're going to do, because if we can, we'll go ahead and edit it down to really what it is that you need to know, and we'll get that sent out.
So the short answer is there's going to be an asking price. So whatever the list price is for the house. And then you're going to work with your realtor to get the ARV, the after repair value price. So the realtor is going to be your best asset for finding that number. You can also go onto Zillow and just look at the recently sold houses, and that's going to also give you an idea. So if you see a house that's $65,000 list price as a foreclosure, and you look within a few blocks and all the houses are selling for $125,000, or let me say, not selling for, that have actually sold for. Make sure you're looking at sold houses, not listed houses. So, at a quick glance, if there's no houses that are selling, don't buy in that neighborhood. If there's houses that are all selling for $65,000, don't buy in that neighborhood. Make sure that you see that there's margin of the price that you're looking to pay and the after repair value. And then the difference between those two is your wiggle room for repair and rehab costs and your profit and your holding costs and all of that. Okay. So Janine, I know you asked that question. I know we haven't yet done our coaching call. When we have our coaching call, I'll be able to answer that more specifically and look in your area and help you find, I've done this with most of the women, is help find and narrow down, like, where is my market? What houses am I looking for? What's my best opportunity? So that's part of the benefit of the coaching, is that we're going to look really specifically at your situation, your area. What's the best house for you to be making an offer on? There's some people in the program that are looking at buying rental properties, very low income rental properties. Some people looking at multifamily. Some people looking at our standard sweet spot flipping homes. So it's, in the coaching, we get a little bit more specific with that. So we can help you really, really quick with that.
All right. So we're going to bomb through the pre-closing checklist and due diligence, because we know your offer is going to get accepted.
Yep.
So
you got the offer accepted. Now you're going to start doing your due diligence. So you'll want to pull a FOIA, and that's a Freedom of Information Act. So you can go to the city, and sometimes it's at the county level, but you can call the city and ask for a FOIA report. Usually they have a link online. And what that does is it gives you a list of basically anything that's wrong with the house.
If it's ever been an offender bender, gone off the highway, anything like, different kind of house.
It'll give you if there's open permits on it, if there's been code violations, if the house was condemned. You can find a lot of information. You can even find, a lot of times in the FOIA, they'll have like criminal history of the house. You find out if somebody died there, stuff like that. So pull the FOIA. Actually, this is a good homework for you guys. Just for fun, go somewhere and pull a FOIA on something. Find a house that's condemned with something on your list. It's public information.
It's also fascinating.
It is fascinating.
Sometimes you get some good stuff there.
So it's not going to be, don't rely on it as the all-inclusive, hey, I pulled the FOIA, now I know everything about the house. It's just one of the things for you to look at and say, oh, interesting, I didn't know that. There was a code violation. Strange things come up, like we just got a letter in the mail today about a property, and there's a bunch of stuff that was done to the house without permits. Not a big deal, but you might come in and see that there's a new HVAC system and it looks great, but they never pulled permits, and there's all kinds of fines, or maybe it wasn't done to code. So it's a due diligence process. Finalizing the financing. So you started maybe with your proof of funds letter that may or may not have been where you're actually getting the proof of funds, or you're actually getting the funds. Not a bad idea to have them in your back pocket just in case. So again, when you search that and you start seeing all these hard money lenders, it doesn't hurt to have half a dozen of hard money lenders in your back pocket. Call an insurance company. I use a company called Affinity Group, and they specialize in real estate insurance. There's let's see, there's another one. I'll have to think of the name of it. Another one that I used to use. They were great, but I had a house burned down and they dropped me, so I had to find a new insurance company. But again, you're starting to think about, I'm going to be closing on a house soon. What do I need? What are my ducks I need in a row? Schedule the inspection. So I recommend in your first few houses, get a professional inspector. So again, this could be something that you add to your net time list while you're driving in the car. call around and get some names of some inspectors. Create your scope of work. I just showed Nate today. I wanted him to send out I have a couple of scope of work documents. You can make up your own. You can, pick and choose from what we're giving you. It's more of an art than a science of how exactly you want to map everything out. I generally do mine by what are the high level mechanicals, because those are the high ticket items, and then I'll get into less detail in some of the things that I may change my mind as we get into the project. Then project timeline, that's another document that we're going to share with you this week. It's going to show you, hey, I can't, it's a conversation we had over coffee today. We have a project right now, and Nate's like, why aren't there vents in the floor? And we were kind of joking about it, but the things that have to happen sequentially. So we had all new HVAC put in, and then we had the flooring put in, and I needed to make a phone call and say, hey, HVAC guy, come back in and put your floor vents in. Just the little details of don't put the flooring in until you've got the vents coming through, where we didn't have vents coming through.
Well, what's wrong with heating the bottom of a floorboard instead of actually letting the air run into the room?
And that's actually the conversation. The HVAC guy said, well, one of my ducts got covered up. I've got heat going into nothing right now. There's no hole in the floor. So these are the fun things that we'll all laugh about in a few weeks when you guys have the house is under contract and you're actually in the middle of the construction.
What she meant was the heat was actually going into something.
The heat was going
into a board instead of an opening.
It was even worse than that. Somehow it wasn't even in the hole anymore. It was heating or air conditioning at this time of year, the entire basement that's not even insulated.
Perfect. So very comfortable temperature in the basement.
So project timeline, vacant building ordinance, code violation list, that should come with the FOIA. You can also call the city. So in my hometown and a lot of areas, because there have been so many foreclosures, they have a new way of charging you money. It's more than just the code violations. It's called a vacant building ordinance. So they actually go through, and this you just have to check and see if this is true for your area. They go through and they have, and it's actually, I really appreciate it when it's a pain because it's costly to close them out. It costs a few $100, but they give me a list of essentially what my inspection report would be. So I go get the vacant building ordinance report, and it lists everything that the city wants me to do on the house. So that helps with my initial budgeting. So it's nice to have that up front. Then you're going to start the contractor process. So hopefully you guys have got your feelers out there for contractors. I shared a little bit that we are flipping a house in a new area, and I just went through everything that you guys are going to be going through in finding the contractors, finding the plumbers, the electricians, and most of the people that I hired, I just found on Angie's list.
She's very good. It was amazing. One day I went off to meet with a friend, and I came back, and she's like, I got the contractors. And they're all named Steve, by the way. 3
contractors on one house named Steve.
Yep.
The plumber.
She did it by contacting 12 or 15 and whittling it down to the 3 that we needed, and boom, now they're working on the property. So it's a process.
And are they perfect? I have no idea.
We will find out.
We've made progress because we've got guys working on the house now.
And incidentally, the steps that we're teaching you are the steps that we're following. So as we put this stuff together, we're teaching you exactly what we do, and we don't skip steps, and it works.
So when you meet the contractors, ask them, make sure that they're licensed and bonded in the city, especially if you're pulling permits. I won't have a conversation about whether or not to pull permits, but it's something that not everybody does. But if you do pull permits, then you need to make sure that the contractors you hire are going to be licensed and bonded in the city, or whatever the city's requirements are for them. You'll also want to you're going to start your little black book of contractors in your area. What'll happen is you're going to have a few people that you work with, you really enjoy working with, and it's going to become your team. In the beginning, you might have to go through a few. It's kind of like dating. You're not going to necessarily find the right one the first time. Also get a W-9 filled out for them at the end of the year for tax purposes. And a lot of contractors are going to say, no, I don't do a W-9. I'm not going to pay taxes. Well, they might not be the guy for you.
I'm going to throw this in too, and it's not on the list, but one thing that's been very helpful, and it depends on what state you're in, but to have a template letter and just make sure that your language on your letter for a contractor says, I hold myself out in the state of whatever state you're in as an independent contractor and take full responsibility for for the work that I do, for, and just something. I hold myself out as an independent contractor. The number of times in New Hampshire that I've been to tribunal for workers' compensation problems and different things like that. It's a place they take you for the state, saying that you're supposed to pay these people as employees, and their saying is always, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. But if they have that little letter, if you have that little sign sheet that says, I hold myself out in the state of whatever state you're in as an independent contractor, you can find some language on that. I'm not going to send you a legal document like that, but you can find them. You can even get a document like that from any counsel, any lawyer, or any attorneys that you work with. But it's a very handy tool to have, because when it shows a contractor's intent to work with multiple companies as a contractor, they're going to have a heck of a time coming after you later on for a workers' compensation claim or anything like that. So a helpful tool.
Yeah, absolutely. And then lien waivers. So when somebody works on your property and they finish their work, then you want them to sign something that says, hey, I got paid and I'm not going to ask for any more money. So what's the best thing to do is have every time you make a payment before they get their check, they sign a lien waiver saying that they're getting that check and they're not going to ask for any more. And I've had it happen, unfortunately, that I've had people not sign a lien waiver. And this is a really crazy situation. I paid the contractor and then he didn't pay his subcontractor, and he put a lien on a property. And to this day, it's been a year since I sold the property, and I still haven't gotten the money. It was only $1,800, but it was, if I just had that lien waiver, I would be sitting here with the title company holding my money. So it's a real thing. It's a pain in the butt to have to manage sometimes, but it's definitely worth it to know that each of your contractors that you've hired and paid knows that they're paid and they're not going to come after anything.
Okay, we a couple questions here. What would we Google for that document to have the contractor sign? Are you referring, Jennifer, to the independent contractor document? Is that what you're referring to? Okay, so you can Google it. You could say, I hold myself out as an independent contractor, and you'll find templates. If you just type that in, it's common language. It's kind of like reasonable attorney fees is another one that's common. But what you'd probably
an oxymoron.
I would highly recommend that you contact your attorney. It's a good thing for a one-time fee. And what you want to do, you want to contact an attorney and just say, hey, we want to make sure our contractors are acting like contractors and representing themselves appropriately as contractors. And it's really also helpful that you get a business card with a business name on it, that depending on where you are, again, that they're insured and licensed in the area where you're doing business. And also what you want to do is get references of other people who confirm that they're actually doing work for them. Because if they claim that they're only doing work for you, and they claim that you're giving them their hours, and they claim that they're there at certain amounts of times and getting a certain amount of pay. Another thing, you don't want to be paying a contractor the same amount every week, because in most states that's considered employment. So there's tricks to the trade, and people who are in the trade who decide to, I have a back injury, and now they put that on you because you didn't have workers' compensation insurance because they weren't your employee. A lot of times the state law will work to their advantage if you haven't taken those steps. So contact your attorney about that. I'm only going to say that because I've been to the circus on that 4 times, and having that document, if they're not willing to sign it, then you shouldn't let them do work for you.
Right. And again, if you're hiring a company, it really is best. A lot of times, though, when you're hiring a company versus an individual, the price is going to be higher because they are paying all the fees to be a legitimate company and paying their insurances and everything.
Yeah. And get legitimate when you get references too. You want to make sure that you're talking to people who can demonstrate, hey, here's the work they did for me. I mean, if they're showing you a portfolio on their cell phone, it's great to say, oh, where was that? And, when they give you, they talk about the street that it was on, or even finding, one thing that's been helpful is finding a project that you can drive by. Mm-hmm. Because if they're not willing to do that, or they hesitate, then you have questions about, A, did they do the work? B, are they doing work for someone else? And, there's a lot of other variables there. You're looking for someone who's going to work with you in an honest fashion.
And here's a secret flip chick ninja trick is when you're driving through the neighborhood, start paying attention to the trucks that are in front of houses that are working. So let's say you see an electrical contractor's truck. Go, knock on the door. Go see, assuming they're working, not that they live there, and go see what kind of work they're doing. Get their number. I've more times than is I'm embarrassed to say how many times I've walked up to a guy in a truck in Menards and ask where, are you looking for work right now? What kind of work do you do? Can I come by and see your project that you're working on? You know where to find these guys. And they're usually also just driving next to you. Just the other day.
I was just going to say, we were getting a van in front of us, and Margaret says, call that number. We need an electrician.
I was like, it's an electrical contractor. Write down that number. I'm like trying to catch up to this car so he can write down the number because he's local.
Incidentally, he was a distributor, but it was a
fun chase.
Yeah. In business, I've gotten a lot of clients that way in the past.
Sure.
Because the people who are out and about are the ones who are doing business. And they're more than likely, if they're on a job site, they're getting work. So it means they're probably, in many of those cases, they're probably doing a good job. In many cases, they might not be, but you can find out. You can always find out.
Jennifer, she said, interesting about the same pay for more than 1 week in a row. Another thing is if you're dictating their hours, that's another red flag for, hey, this smells like an employee. And some states are a lot more strict with it. We're in Illinois. And it's really bad in Illinois. They very much favor the employee or the contractor over the employer. So, and again, I'm just going to, just for a quick second, that's another reason why we're so adamant about getting the LLC, at least eventually getting the LLC, if not right now. But again, that gives you some protection against people like that.
I don't know if we answered the one other question we had. I want to go back for a second about what do you ask for on a FOIA? I mean,
the FOIA list is going to be, well, I always just write it up and I say, give me everything. And sometimes I get an email and they say, what do you mean by everything? And then I'll say, every code violations, permits pulled, criminal records. They're a little bit different depending on which city or county you're calling. Ask them, say, hey, what do you offer? What does your FOIA include? What could I possibly get? I want to get everything. How do I need to fill out the paperwork? And some places it might take a couple weeks to get it, which is kind of crazy. Some places I get it within 24 hours. So you'll just, you have to try different areas.
Everything is bad. Oh, woe is us.
But we have the Cubs. Oh, wait.
They're going to win the... Oh. Anyways, okay. They said that about my Red Sox for a while there, and I guess we took care of that. So homework, not home run, homework. Get in the game. All right, make your opportunity list. Make it. Get out there, make your opportunity list. Get access to your wholesalers. I know I sound like a broken record. Talk to your realtor. Look at what's going on in your marketplace and start to create your list of 20 or 30 properties, and just stay on the pulse. It's part of the game. It's like in sports, a good friend of mine used to look at the box scores. He always wanted to look at the box scores, and it became such a fascinating evaluation of the statistics. If you don't know what they are, they're the scores, day to day for the baseball. At the end of the baseball games, you can see who beat who and what the score was, and all the different averages. He really get into that, and that's about for him it was trading cards and making deals and fantasy sports and stuff. So in this case, you're in the game. You got to get on the pulse. You got to know what the variables are, and you got to make that list and just keep doing it. It's fun. I mean, when my dad used to do it, I remember growing up, I was really young, and you like that? When I was growing up, I was young. He would get up. He'd be up early in the morning with he'd have the newspaper out with his little X-Acto knife. I'm not suggesting this is what you do, although it still does work. There are still a lot of listings and foreclosures listed in the newspapers, just because people still read the newspaper, and people with money reading the newspaper who are looking at what's foreclosing in the area. It just happens to be what these dinosaur papers are doing. But he would cut them out, tape the ones that he was most interested in on a legal pad, write his notes next to him, and call every single one of them. And he'd do them as soon as the paper came out. So it was this sort of game. I think it really seemed fascinating to see that kind of diligence. And he never used the "I can't reach a wholesaler, I can't reach a realtor" as an excuse. All
right. Again, making multiple offers. That's the name of the game. Don't think it's going to be a one-hit wonder. We don't need all the A's. We can do the B's, the C's, the D's, and all the way down to the Z's if we need to.
Making an offer is a rush. It is a rush. Practice getting that rush. Get the dopamine effect. Get those endorphins pumping. You've got to go out. If you don't feel your blood pressure go up a little bit because you've made an offer and you don't feel like you want to tell the world, then you're not doing it enough. get out there and make multiple offers.
Yeah. All right, play the game. Can't play the game if you don't get into it. So again, make the first move. As Nate says, make it, make it, make it. And we want to give bonus points. It's like, what was that TV show? Whose line is it anyway? Something about points that don't matter and nobody's counting them anyway. But bonus points for sharing on the Flip Chicory. I cannot emphasize enough how valuable it is when you guys share for each other. I know those of you who are kind of sitting on the sidelines, I'm sure that you're getting a ton of value by reading the posts that are on there. And really, 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 we are here to give you support and feedback, and we're checking it every day. So take advantage of that extra coaching that you guys get by being part of the Flip Chicory and really, really be active there. Now, after last week and this week, I'm expecting to see a lot more activity there as you guys start making the offers, getting contracts accepted, getting into the next steps where we're actually talking about the flipping it side.
All right, now quick mindset reminder. This is my favorite part. Just remember that early on in the game, as you went through Power Week, we talked about your I am process. Your identity creates your behavior. So as you're thinking this through, as you're engaging in the call, by the way, I love the 100% attentiveness, and I hope it's not just make-believe that you actually really are attentive or just close all the other windows and you're eating a salad off to the side. I feel like everyone really is engaged and connected on the call. It feels awesome. I know it's not easy to do. It's focus is practice.
Yeah, you guys have been great this week with all the questions and raising hands, and I love the interactive parts of it.
Yep.
It's been fun.
And, we record this session, and so you're adding a lot of value to other people who are, who are going to be listening to this after the fact, and not everyone has a chance to make the call. So quick mindset reminder, though, the I am process, that this idea of what are you practicing when you think, oh, I am frustrated, I am confused, I am running short on money, I'm running short on time, I'm
wishing I didn't live in Illinois.
Yeah. Or is it, I am a real estate investor, I'm a flip chick, I'm a badass, I am making offers, I am getting deals, I am in the game, I am practicing in my mind the experience I want to have in my world, or perhaps it's, I am going to make this happen. I'm going to throw you another one, good. Jennifer. How about I am making this happen?
Yeah.
Let's make it present tense. Okay.
Little distinctions like that.
Well, yeah.
So far, Nate's great at those.
It's the watch your language part. So, what are your actions demonstrating? How does your action measure up against your identity or your I am? It's a major distinction. I would sit down with a pen, and paper, pen and paper. It's good to have the paper and write down your I am statement if you haven't done it, or go back to Power Week and look at the power of identity and think about, go through the meditation, go through that meditation of where you'd like to be 6 months or a year from now. Where would you like to be 90 days from now? Where would you like to be next month? Where do you want to be after this weekend? I am a real estate investing badass. I am a flip chick. I am writing my own golden ticket. All right. You're all awesome. This was a great call. Are there any other questions? And by a show of hands, how many of you would like to just let us know, did we give you everything you were hoping for out of this call today? If you think we did, if you're happy with the delivery, raise your hand. I'd love that. And maybe type in a comment about, what if you had to say your feeling from this call up in one word, what would that one word be? Ready, go.
Love seeing all the hands. Makes us feel good.
Yeah, that's great. That's a lot of hands raised. So one word, sum up this call with one word. Awesome. Energized. All right.
Excited.
My son would say hamburgers. He gets very excited about hamburgers. Okay. What else we got here? Oh, we've got game changer. Nice.
Informative.
Yeah. Ready. Informative. Confident. Awesome. Excited.
Love it. Thank you, guys.
Thrilled. Yeah, we could. Wow, we're just going to keep going and going. This is great. I'd love to read all of them, but we've got to get ready for breakfast. Have a great evening, and we'll see you on next week's call. Go out there, and I don't know if anyone's going to remember this, but what's the number one goal?
Get a house under contract.
No. You're not supposed to say it now. Well,
I feel like I need to go get one under contract.
Yeah, well, there's still a little sunlight somewhere. All right, everyone have a great night, and
thanks for playing full
thanks
out.
a lot. We're proud to be your mentors and working with you. I look forward to getting on some of the coaching calls with you as well. it's an honor to be a part of this. And imagine me being part of the Flip Chick Sisterhood. It's a huge honor. Have an awesome night, and we'll talk to you real soon.
Talk to you soon.